What is going on, everyone? I hope you were all having a fantastic day. So I'm sure we have all heard the phrase cash is king, and depending on who you talk to, that may still be true. But if you're anything like me, you probably don't really carry around cash that much anymore, and instead you prefer to use a debit card or a credit card. Personally, I only use credit cards, and I have earned thousands of dollars in cash back and other rewards related to my credit card, and I have never paid a single penny in interest to a credit card company. And because of that, I personally put everything on a credit card and then pay it off immediately. So today I want to talk about which payment method you should be using and show you how you can actually earn that sweet cash back on every single purchase every single day, as long as you are responsible with your card, of course. With that being said, if you are new here and you want to see more videos on how to build wealth over time and all kinds of other personal finance related topics, then be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you do enjoy today's video. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so really quick, I know this can be a polarizing topic to say the least, and I'm not entirely sure why, because again, you are free to do whatever you want with your money, because it's your financial situation. But I know there are the individuals in the Dave Ramsey party who say that credit cards are the root of all evil, and that is fine because for a lot of people, credit cards have led to a lot of debt and a lot of difficulty and hardship as a result. So that's totally fine if a credit card is not for you. But on the other hand, you have entire YouTube channels dedicated to teaching you how to earn thousands of dollars in cash back and other credit card related rewards. And while that sort of thing does take some effort and financial responsibility, it is very much a possibility for you and me as long as you are willing to put in the work. But before we get to that, let's talk about that old gross piece of paper that many still use to buy things. I'm just kidding. If you're in the cash is king party, then that is totally fine. But I believe there are a few cons to physical cash that are why I personally do not carry cash with me. The first and most obvious issue is that if you lose cash, it's gone. And I know that may sound a little strange, but if you lose a credit card or a debit card, you haven't lost any physical money and you can simply deactivate that card and have the company send you a new one. And we'll talk about this more later, but in some cases, even if someone steals your card and uses it, you can still get recourse and call up the credit card company and get that money back, even if they spent the money, because it's not coming out of your actual bank account. Now, the second reason I don't like cash is because it's a little inconvenient. And again, I know this might sound a little bit ridiculous, but to give you some perspective, this is my wallet, and there's no place for cash or even a money clip, and it just holds 6 cards, and that's it. This is perfect for me, but I know this is a little bit extreme, but it just goes to show that using some kind of card for your payments is more convenient than carrying around dirty pieces of paper and tiny pieces of metal in your pocket. And that brings me to the last point, which is money is just kind of gross. I'm sure all of us know this, but unless you're getting those fresh bills from the bank, it's pretty gross to think about all the places that money has been. Now, before we go any further, let me remind you that you are free to pay for your stuff however you want to. It is true that handing over physical cash does trigger a pain response in the brain, which can help you limit your spending if that's a problem for you. So if you're brand new to budgeting and you're just trying to stick to your budget, then using some system like the envelope method could be a great way to stick to that new budget. Alright, so maybe you've moved away from the cash train and instead you use a debit card to pay for anything. Well, that does remove the gross aspect of using a dirty piece of paper, and it is more convenient, so it's definitely a step in the right direction in my opinion, but something like a debit card does still have some drawbacks. Typically, if someone steals your debit card and uses it to buy something, you can't always get that money back since it is physically being taken out of your bank account and given to the merchant. And while you can typically catch this pretty quickly and shut down that card, you're still running the small risk that they could spend several $1,000s before you deactivate the card. Obviously, this is pretty rare, but it is something to keep in mind since your debit card is literally a direct key card to your bank account. Now, that being said, a debit card is great in the sense that it doesn't let you go into debt, since obviously you can't spend more than what is available in your bank account, which for a lot of people might be really important. It's also extremely easy to get one, and the whole process of using a debit card is a lot more simple than something like a credit card, since money simply comes into your account, and when you spend money, that exact money goes out of your account with the debit card. So overall, a debit card is probably the most common payment method in the sense that pretty much everyone has a debit card, but there is still one major drawback, and that is it doesn't help you build your credit score. Calm down, I know this is another polarizing topic, but before you go firing away in the comments, hear me out. Yes, it is true that a credit score is used to determine how good you are at borrowing money. And if you're the kind of person who is on the cash is king train, then you're also probably the kind of person who believes that debt is bad and you should never take on debt of any kind, other than maybe a mortgage, of course. But keep in mind that a credit score can be used for all sorts of things beyond your ability to borrow money. Even if you just go to apply for an apartment, for example, they are still going to run your credit, because even a landlord is going to assume that if you have a high credit score, then they will have a high chance of being paid consistently every single month. That might sound really dumb, but it's the reality of things. So that's just one example, but even in that case, you're not actually borrowing money, but your credit score, or lack of having a credit score at all, could cause you to miss out on something like your dream apartment. Honestly, a debt-free lifestyle is the best way to go if you do want to build wealth, and I am right there with you. But with that being said, a credit score is important for a lot of things outside of getting the lowest interest rates on a car loan or something like that. It's used for lots of things, and a debit card simply doesn't allow you to build your credit score. Alright, so that brings us to the credit card, which is really all I ever use to pay for anything nowadays. And let me remind you that it's not like I'm racking up thousands and thousands of dollars in credit card debt. In fact, the credit card companies have paid me several $1,000s in cash back and other rewards, and I have never paid a penny in interest. So other than selling my information, they're really not making anything from me. So a credit card gives you the same convenience of a debit card, but if you know how to use it properly, it can give you some pretty fantastic rewards, including cash back that we talked about earlier, and that is my personal favorite. But you can also get something like a travel credit card that will give you all kinds of points, lounge access, hotel upgrades, flight upgrades, and an endless array of other fantastic benefits. Now, there are cards that have annual fees, but unless you travel a lot, that's really unnecessary if you ask me. And personally, I really only ever use the Discover It card, which is really easy to get, it has no annual fee, and it gives you some pretty great cash back as well. The Discover It card is also the best starter card in my opinion, since you really don't need any credit history in order to get one. So on top of all of those great benefits, if your credit card is ever stolen and someone uses it, you can almost always just call up your credit card company and they can shut down the card, and you aren't out any money since it's not actually coming out of your physical bank account. A lot of cards also offer purchase protection, which is basically a warranty on everything you buy with that card. So let's say you buy a laptop with that credit card and that laptop gets stolen. Well, a lot of times you can just call up your credit card company and they will reimburse you the full amount of that purchase, since it is protected under their purchase protection. That would definitely never happen if you purchased it with cash, and probably never happen with a debit card either. So a credit card really does shine in that regard. Now, when looking at credit cards, there are a few things that you absolutely must follow in order to use them properly. First of all, you should never carry a balance on a credit card, because it's just a bad idea, and also paying interest to a credit card company on your everyday purchases really defeats the whole purpose of having a credit card in the first place. Also, you really need to treat your credit card as if it is a debit card or cash. It's true that when you get a credit card, it's a lot easier to just go and buy a bunch of stuff that you probably don't really need, because it doesn't necessarily feel like you're spending your own money for a lot of people. So that's why it's really important to condition yourself to associate using your credit card with money actually coming out of your bank account. If having a credit card causes you to spend more money, then again, it is not for you, and you should just stick to your debit card. And honestly, if your spending ever does get out of hand and you're racking up a bunch of credit card debt, then the best thing you can do is just cut up that card, throw it away, and go back to your debit card, because it's pretty crazy how fast you can rack up credit card debt, and that is not something you want to have to deal with. Just be smart about your purchases and pay off your card in full at the end of every single month. And just a little bonus tip for you, it's actually a good idea to pay off your card before the end of the month, because that means your credit utilization will remain at 0%, and your credit utilization makes up a large portion of your overall credit score. So let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit and you spend $1,000. It's not the end of the world, but you really should pay that off before your statement arrives, because otherwise your credit utilization is going to be 100%. Also, no, you do not need to carry a balance on your credit card in order to build up your credit score. That is a horrible myth that is absolutely not true. And I can assure you, if you just put your regular everyday purchases on your card and you pay it off every single month in full, you can build up a pretty great credit score in a pretty short period of time. And that could save you several $1,000s when you go to apply for a mortgage, or just be really handy when you go to rent an apartment. So at the end of the day, you need to look at your spending habits and your financial situation and decide which payment method is best for you. If you are really responsible with your money, then I highly encourage you to use a credit card, because there really are a lot of fantastic benefits that you just can't get with a debit card or cash, and there's very little downside as long as you use it responsibly. But if you've had trouble with credit cards before, or in general you just have trouble saving your money, then there's absolutely no shame in just using a debit card or cash, because because for a lot of people, that's what they're used to, and that is the best option for them. If you do want to get a great first credit card and you don't already have one, then I do highly recommend the Discover It card, and there is a link in the description that'll give you a $50 statement credit when you do open a credit card with them. So the first 10 people to use that link down in the description will get $50 for free, but if you already have a credit card, then that's totally fine, and I wish you the best of luck. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get the best rewards and the best cash back, and as long as you know how to use that card, you're gonna be just fine. With that being said, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you do want to see more videos like this in the future, and of course, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.